Take exit 47 for Tasahara Road towards Santa Rita Road.
Ready?
Wait a minute. You got your phone plugged up?
No.
Bitcoin, the best money we've ever had.
We built the strongest economy in the history of the world, raised wages, and achieved the lowest African American, Hispanic American, Asian American unemployment rates ever recorded. It was so great for everybody of all backgrounds that even after the China virus, we are leading the world. Nobody's even close. We're leading it in the comeback. Our economic comeback has been incredible. That's because the financial and economic foundation we built was so strong that unlike other countries who are having a hard time, we didn't break. We came roaring back, and now our stock market and your 401ks are again at record levels, higher than ever before, actually. A new term being used more and more. I'm hearing that term more and more. I didn't come up with it. But what it means is great deals, great trade deals, great ones. Not deals where we give away everything, our jobs, money. Like the USMCA replacement of the horrible NAFTA. NAFTA was one of the worst deals ever made, probably the worst trade deal ever made. And we ended it. You know, a lot of people forget. We ended it. Now we have the USMCA in Mexico, Canada. It's incredible what it's done for our farmers who are doing fantastically. Did you see grain prices and grain sales are at an all-time high? Wheat, all-time high. So many elements to get it, and now the farmers are doing great. But they're setting records. It means low taxes and eliminating job-killing regulations, Trumpism. It means strong borders, but people coming into our country based on a system of merit. So they come in and they can help us, as opposed to coming here and not being good for us, including criminals, of which there are many. Men and women who have been taken advantage of for so many years, and they were doing great. They were doing great before that horrible thing from China came in and hit us, and now they're starting to do really well again. You know, if you think about it, we built the economy twice. We built it then, and like every other country. And our military has never been stronger than it is today. It was tired, it was depleted, it was obsolete, and now we have the best brand new equipment ever made, and it was all produced right here in the USA. Isn't that nice? And we take care of our vets. You know, we had a poll recently, just before leaving office. The vets had a 91% approval rating for the way we took care of them. That's the highest number in the history of the polls. The vet polls. On top of all of that, we have even created the Space Force, the first new branch of the United States military in nearly 75 years. The mission of the Democrat Party is to promote socialism. They want to promote socialism, ultimately leading, unfortunately, to communism. And that will happen. If you look at Venezuela, you look at some of these countries, that's why some of our biggest supporters are from South America, Latin America, because they've seen what goes on with all of this cancel culture, and you can't speak, and let's cut them off, and let's not give them words. The mission of our movement and of the Republican Party must be to create a future of good jobs, strong families, safe communities, a vibrant culture, and a great nation for all Americans, and that's what we're creating. It's horrible the way they treat the legacy of our country, the culture of our country. Our party is based on love for America and the belief that this is an exceptional nation blessed by God. We take great pride in our country. We teach the truth about history. We celebrate our rich heritage and national traditions. We honor George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, and all national heroes. And of course, we respect our great American flag. hearing that during some of the rallies, especially the latter rallies where we set records, we had 56 unbelievable packed rallies, and nobody's ever had anything like we had. And we started hearing, "We love you." And I asked somebody, because we really liked Ronald Reagan, right? He was a great president. We had others. But I said, did anybody ever say that to Ronald Reagan or to any of our, and to the best of all of these political professionals' knowledge and pollsters, nobody's ever heard that yet before, man. So it's an honor. Believe me, it's an honor. Great honor. It's a great honor. When you think about "we love you," you're saying that about, I hate to say it, am I a politician? I don't know. Maybe I'm a politician. I hate to admit it, but it's an honor that you would say it. We believe in life and to upholding the Judeo-Christian values of our founders. We embrace free thought. We stand up to political correctors, and we reject left-wing lunacy, and in particular, we reject cancel culture. We know that the rule of law is the ultimate sacred, and we affirm that the Constitution means exactly what it says, as written, as written. They want to change it. They want to change it. They want to get rid of it, frankly. We believe in law and order, and we believe that the men and women of law enforcement are heroes who truly deserve our absolute support. We don't defund the police. We are not defunding. We believe in standing up to China, shutting down outsourcing, bringing back our factories and supply chains, and ensuring that America, not China, dominates the future of the world. And by the way, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China during my administration. They never gave us 10 cents. It was a one-way street. We took in hundreds of billions, and during negotiations, they would say, look, the one thing, we don't want any more of these tariffs. Those tariffs, we took in so much money. And what happened is they became competitive. So what happened with people, they wouldn't go to China. They'd build a lot of it back in our country. They would make it here instead. And in addition to that, we were taking in billions and billions and billions of dollars from China. But in all fairness to China, we made a trade deal with them. This was prior to COVID. And once COVID happened, I no longer cared so much about the trade deal, because what happened with that was just disgraceful. But that's one of the things, that's one of the reasons that right now our farmers are doing so good. I used to tell them, look, go and get a lot of wheat, get a lot of different things, all of the things we just talked about. You better go out and do it, because this country has not been treated fairly by you for many, many years. Many, many years. We used to lose $504 billion trade deficit with China. $504 million, a lot. Right? You know that through the World Health Organization. Now take $504 million, make it $504 billion. We had deficits with China. It was absolutely insane that this could keep going on. It's amazing that you still have a country left. The people that did this to our country, they should be ashamed of themselves. They should be ashamed of themselves. Companies that leave America to create jobs in China and other countries that have ripped us off for years should not be rewarded. They should be tariffed, fined, and punished. They should not be rewarded. And that's what the Biden doing. But of course, as you know, they have a very close personal relationship with China. So I don't expect much to happen. It's a shame, because it really is a threat. It's a tremendous economic threat. Another one of the most urgent issues facing the Republican Party is that of ensuring fair, honest, and secure elections. Such a disgrace, such a disgrace. Comprehensive election election reforms, and we must do it now. The Democrats use the China virus as an excuse to change all of the election rules without the approval of their state legislatures, making it therefore illegal. It had a massive impact on the election. Again, you have to go to the legislatures to get these approvals. This alone would have easily changed the outcome of the election at levels that you wouldn't have even believed, even with COVID, even and election reform immediately. Republicans should be the party of honest elections that can give everyone confidence in the future of our country. Without honest elections, who has confidence? Who has confidence? This issue is being studied and examined, but the reality is you cannot have millions of ballots. Where are they coming from? They're coming all over the place. Not to be believed. We have a very sick and corrupt electoral process that must be fixed immediately. This election was rigged. If you just take that one element where they didn't go through legislature.
Performance for his passengers. He sang a song from the Disney movie Moana. Got to sing it and the rapid rate. April Jones Howard, a tourist, recorded that on her way to the Orlando theme parks. What a welcome to Orlando. Sorry, Dagan. Give out 5 seconds. Oh, you Dagan. I'll do some armpits. Yeah, there you go. So, that's it for us. Special reports up next. Hey, Brett. I can wait for the updates. All right, thanks, Greg. Good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baer. Breaking tonight, we're following two major foreign policy stories. President Biden is stepping up the pressure on Israel to make what is being called a significant de-escalation in its conflict with Hamas. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is rejecting that call. First up, the president's decision to waive sanctions on the company behind a controversial Russian pipeline project to Europe, specifically Germany. He's getting more criticism about that today, even as the administration announces penalties for other Russian entities. Let's get details now from White House correspondent Peter Ducey. He's live on the
Good evening, Brett. The day before the inauguration, Antony Blinken went to the Senate and told lawmakers there he agreed with them. The Nord Stream 2 pipeline was a bad idea, but not for the environmental reasons that have led this administration to cancel pipelines here in the States already. Instead, because it would give Russia an advantage in the region. But tonight, the Biden administration is going to waive sanctions on certain officials that will make it possible for this project to be completed. And Antony Blinken is sitting with Russia's foreign minister right now in Iceland, making nice.
President Biden has demonstrated that in both word and deed, not for purposes of escalation, not to seek conflict, but to defend our interests.
This foreign policy decision tonight has the top foreign policy Democrat in the Senate furious. Bob Menendez writes, the administration has said that the pipeline is a bad idea and that it is a Russian maligned influence project. I share that sentiment, but fail to see how today's decision will advance U.S. efforts to counter Russian aggression in Europe. And as President Biden makes this big concession to Russia, who he has called an opponent before, he's also applying new pressure to Israel, a long-standing U.S. ally. It's long been part of Biden's pitch on the campaign trail.
Bibi Netanyahu, I know well.
And at the White House.
He's obviously somebody that he has a long-standing relationship with.
Today, a test. As the White House tells us, the president conveyed to the prime minister that he expected a significant de-escalation today on the path to a ceasefire.
Who cares what Joe Biden expects? The people of Israel have a right and an expectation that they can protect themselves from thousands of rockets and missiles being fired into their cities.
The White House provided a short readout of the leader's call, but hasn't detailed what's next.
What recourse does the U.S. have to take if Israel doesn't meet that deadline? Well, again, I'm going to let the readout play out speak for itself.
After a chat with Democratic Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, a critic of Israel who recently accused the Israeli government of using an apartheid system against Palestine, the president sympathized with her relatives in the West Bank.
I pray that your grandmom and family are well.
Did that get Tlaib to lay off Israel? No, because today she signed on to a resolution hoping to block Biden from sending arms to Israel, saying the harsh truth is that these weapons are being sold by the United States to Israel with the clear understanding that the vast majority of them will be used to bomb Gaza.
Accusing Israel of committing acts of terrorism, as the squad has done, it is unconscionable.
Hoping to keep weapons away from Israel's enemies, Republican Congressman Brian Mast reintroduced a resolution to sanction backers of the terror group Hamas.
Hamas does not finance terrorism with bake sales. They receive significant support from individual groups and foreign governments like Iran.
Democrats defeated that resolution in a party line vote.
The opinion of the church, the ayes have it.
President's Day started with the mess in the Middle East, but hours later, he tried to keep things light when Coast Guard Academy graduates didn't appreciate a scripted joke.
Why, you're a really dull class. I mean, come on, man. Is the sun getting to you?
So maybe President Biden is not much of a comedian today, but he is showing himself to be a deliberator. There are no serious calls for him to send U.S. troops to the Middle East to intervene in this new conflict, but there is pressure on him from progressives to stop helping Israel. We do not expect any major foreign policy announcements for the rest of tonight, though, because as soon as the president got back from delivering that commencement address, the White House told us no more on-camera events today. Right?
It's so cold to live. Peter Ducey, live from the North Lawn. Peter, thanks. Now to the latest on the Middle East fighting. Senior Foreign Affairs correspondent Greg Palcott, live in Tel Aviv early Thursday morning. Hello, Greg.
Hello, Brett. Yeah, there are new reports tonight that we could see a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in the next couple of days. But as it stands right now, despite new White House pressure, we could be in a dangerous status quo. Amid ongoing clashes between Israel and Hamas, more signs a cessation in hostilities might be closer. President Biden in another call with Prime Minister Netanyahu saying he expects de-escalation today. More pressure too coming from the UN, the EU, and regional powers. Netanyahu, however, remained in a fighting mood, talking about Hamas.
There are only two ways that you can deal with them. You can either conquer them, and that's always an open possibility, or you can deter them. And we are engaged right now in forceful deterrence.
Hamas striking out again, southern and central Israel in the rocket fire. Israel even hit by rockets from Lebanon. No one was hurt. Israelis remain active on the front line. We are at an air base in central Israel, watching an F-15 of the Israeli Air Force take off. Planes from here have been heading south to Gaza, some 30 miles with some heavy weapons, doing some pretty bad damage to militants there and others. The damage to Hamas has been substantial. According to Israel, some 820 terror targets hit, 130 militants killed. But it's the havoc heaped on Palestinian civilians that has the world concerned. Some 230 killed, including 64 children, over 1,600 wounded, shortages in food, medicine, power, and water, 60,000 homeless, and some still missing.
Now we are in urgent need to save the civilian and protect the civilian. We need international community to support the civilian, regardless of the conflict between Israel and Hamas.
Even this Israeli Air Force captain, who's been involved in multiple sorties over Gaza, sounds like he'd be happy for a break too.
On a personal level, I 100% want peace and want zero civilian casualties on both sides.
And by the way, we were asked to withhold Captain B's name for security reasons. Throughout the night, we've been watching new reports of both Hamas rocket fire and Israeli airstrikes. It could be, as some analysts have said to us, last licks before the end, before that dangerous end. Back to you, Brett.
Well, hopefully so. Greg Palcott in Tel Aviv. Greg, thanks. A presidential nominee for a key intelligence post, the top spot. He's under scrutiny tonight. A Republican senator raising concern over work the nominee did for a Chinese telecommunications company, Huawei.
a company that was called a national security threat by the last administration. Correspondent Kevin Cork is here tonight with details. Good evening, Kevin.
Evening, Brett. Huawei, as you know, has been heavily sanctioned by the U.S. government after accusations that its infrastructure equipment actually enables the Chinese Communist Party to surveil users. And now Republicans on Capitol Hill are asking a key Biden nominee searing questions about his past involvement with the company. His name is Christopher Fonzone. He's been nominated to become the General Counsel of the ODNI. For the folks outside of Washington, that's the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. On Tuesday, Nebraska Republican Senator Ben Sasse asked Fonzone about Huawei's link to China's oppression of its Uyghur minority.
What do you think of the role that they've played in the Chinese Communist Party's genocide in Xinjiang? I'm trying to ask, why would you make a decision to work for Huawei, given who they are?
My firm asked if I would help address some questions on how U.S. administrative law works. I did a very small amount of analysis with respect to that question, less than 10 hours.
Less than 10 hours. So the nominee also said that he's aware that the ODNI has made an assessment that Huawei poses a significant counterintelligence risk. He also vowed that he would use the latest intelligence available in any legal analysis. But that answer didn't satisfy Sasse.
Who did you think they were? Because they're the bad guys. This is a company that's involved in genocide, and this is a company that habitually, systematically is involved in stealing IP from U.S. companies. Helping them with rulemaking or their understanding of rulemaking is not helping a morally neutral actor, and it's not helping them comply with U.S. law. It's helping them figure out how they can skirt U.S. law.
No surprise, right after the hearing, Sasse said that Fonzone should not be confirmed to the role. Now, over the weekend, the ODNI actually hailed Fonzone in a statement writing, his wealth and experience and expertise will make Chris an outstanding addition to the ODNI leadership team. As for Huawei, it has consistently denied accusations that it is controlled by the Communist Party or facilitates Chinese spying. Brett?
Kevin, thanks. This is for the top legal spot and the Director of National Intelligence. Kevin, thanks. It's increasing political pressure tonight on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to end her mandatory mask policy at the Capitol. Congressional correspondent Chad Pergram has specifics from Capitol Hill. Good evening, Chad. I heard today House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy tried to get that.
The tickets at 47 for Tasahara Road towards Santa Rita Road.
The House right now is voting to kill McCarthy's resolution.